and I was amazed that someone would throw out a bike. And so I thought to myself, if someone would throw out a bike, what else would they throw out? So that's why I started digging in the garbage constantly, even if it wasn't a big garbage day.
Mike Wolfe had a gift most men would kill for. He could walk into a rusted-out barn, look at a pile of forgotten junk, and see a fortune staring right back at him. But that same man, with that same gift, somehow couldn't see the value of the things that mattered most in his own life. The 18-year love of his wife. The 20-year friendship of the man who stood beside him through it all. Today, we're not talking about antiques or pickin' stories. We're going to open up the hidden barns inside Mike Wolfe's soul. The places where he tossed aside what mattered most and never looked back once. And here's the painful irony of it all. The very gift that made him a household name is the same gift that doomed the people who loved him. To understand how a man this sharp could go this blind, we have to go all the way back to where the dream first started. The boy who saw gold in a pile of junk. Mike Wolfe was born on June 11, 1964, in Joliet, Illinois. A classic Midwestern childhood. The kind that either makes you a farmer or a dreamer. Mike ended up being both. When he was just 4 years old, there was an old bicycle sitting in a neighbor's yard. Rusted out, forgotten. Nobody paid it any mind. But little Mike dragged it home. He cleaned it up, fixed it, and brought every piece back to life. When the original owner saw what he'd done with it, he offered Mike $50 to buy it back. Mike turned him down flat. Later, he sold that same bicycle to somebody else for $5,000. A 4-year-old kid understood something most grown adults never figure out. Value isn't fixed. It's hidden. And it belongs to whoever's willing to look hard enough. That instinct never left him. Through his teens and into his early 20s, he scoured every barn, garage, and junkyard across the state of Iowa. Not as a hobby, with the kind of single-minded drive of a man who already knew exactly what he was going to do with his life. But here's the bitter twist in all of this. The same man who could spot the value hidden in a rusted bicycle at 4 years old would one day be completely blind to the value of the people who loved him. And during those years, there was always someone right next to him. 2 Iowa boys, same passion, hunting through the same dusty barns. His name was Frank Fritz. Remember that name, because what happens to Frank later is the part of this story that still keeps American Pickers fans up at night. By the year 2000, Mike had built up enough knowledge and confidence to open his own shop. Antique Archaeology was born in LeClaire, Iowa. A few years later, a second location opened up in Nashville, Tennessee. And in 2010, the Discovery Channel started paying attention. On January 18, 2010, American Pickers aired its very first episode on the History Channel. Mike and Frank hit the road, crisscrossing the country, knocking on strangers' doors, hunting down pieces that didn't belong in fancy antique malls. By season 2, every single episode was pulling in more than 5 million viewers. Mike Wolfe was a star. America fell in love with him. And for the first time in his life, the rest of his world was about to come into focus too, whether he wanted it to or not. The woman who waited 18 years. Here's a detail almost nobody talks about. Before the cameras, before the fame, before the millions of dollars, there was a woman named Jody. Jody Faith met Mike back in 1994 through a mutual friend. Back then, Mike was nobody, just an unknown picker from Iowa with a small shop and a big dream. She didn't fall for Mike Wolfe, the TV star. She fell for Mike Wolfe when he didn't have a thing to his name, and she stayed. For 18 years. They lived together. They committed to each other. They built a life side by side. But Mike never proposed. 1 year went by, 5 years, 10 years, 18 years. The man who could spot the value of a rusted tin sign from 30 feet away somehow couldn't see the woman standing right next to him for nearly 2 decades. While Mike was on camera, Haggling over dusty old finds and trading jokes with farmers, Jody was at home, waiting on a question that never came. So why did he wait 18 years? The honest answer might be harder to swallow than you'd think. And it ties directly back to what happened in January of 2012. That month, their daughter Charlie was born. She came into the world with a cleft lip and cleft palate, a medical diagnosis that brings real challenges to any family. The Wolfes later partnered up with Operation Smile, a nonprofit that helps kids around the world with the same condition. That's one bright spot in this story worth giving credit for. 8 months after their daughter was born, in September of 2012, Mike and Jody finally tied the knot. It took 18 years of love and a baby with serious medical needs to get Mike Wolfe to the altar. And even then, Jody walked down that aisle as a new mother first and a bride second. In 2013, not long after the wedding, Jody was diagnosed with stage 2 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Mike was publicly supportive. He posted about it on social media, wrote about her strength, and stood by her side through treatment. In May of 2014, doctors gave her the all-clear. From then on, every May, Mike posted an anniversary tribute. It became a public ritual, a tradition. 6 years in a row, the same hashtag, Power Mama. And then 2020 rolled around. That May, Mike posted that Power Mama photo for the 6th time. Maybe he didn't know, or maybe he did, that it would be the last one. The 30-day collapse. May 2020. The Power Mama photo hit Mike's social media. 6 years, cancer-free. A public message about strength, gratitude, and love. June 2020. Exactly 1 month later. Mike and Jody separated. No announcement, no post, no hint of it on camera. American Pickers kept rolling along, week after week. Cheerful, easy. A man and his van out on the open road of America. While Mike was driving across the country, filming brand new episodes, his marriage was quietly falling apart in a house he didn't live in anymore. Millions of fans sat down in front of their TVs every week. Not one of them had a clue. By November of 2020, Jody officially filed for divorce. The reason listed was irreconcilable differences. The court documents stated they could no longer live together, and all hope of reconciliation had been exhausted. By December of 2021, the divorce was finalized. Let's pause for a second. We've walked through the story of the boy who sold bicycles becoming a TV star, the 18-year wait, the silent collapse of a marriage. But the toughest part of this story is still ahead. Because what Mike did next, or more accurately, what he didn't do, would haunt American Pickers fans for years. Before we get to that, let's take a hard look at the numbers in the divorce settlement. Jody kept the house in Nashville and the property in North Carolina. Mike paid out $5.2 million in the division of their marital assets. She got another $634,000 in alimony. A portion of the royalties from the first 10 seasons of American Pickers also went to her. As for custody, Jody got the lion's share, 230.5 days a year. Mike paid $2,100 a month in child support. Do the math on that. 230 days with Mom. That leaves 135 days a year for Charlie to be with the man America watched on TV every single week. To her, he wasn't a star. He was the parent she saw less than half the year. Mike's public response was just about nothing. He posted something for his daughter on Father's Day. Then he went right back to filming. Life on the outside kept rolling along like nothing had happened. And here's a question I want you to hold on to. Was Mike Wolfe a bad man, or just a guy who couldn't show up off camera the way he showed up on it? Hang on to that one, because the next part of this story might just answer it for you. The friend left behind. Frank Fritz had been right there next to Mike since the very first episode of American Pickers. They'd been friends since their teenage years in Iowa. 20 years of friendship before a single camera ever showed up. That's exactly why the show felt so real. You can't fake that kind of chemistry. They weren't acting. They were just being who they'd always been together for 20 straight years. On screen, Frank was the bearded, funny, lovably awkward one. The perfect counterbalance to Mike, the sharp and confident frontman. Fans didn't love the duo because of a script. They loved them because it was the real deal. Then Frank started disappearing. He showed up less in each episode. His screen time kept shrinking. Viewers started asking each other, "Where's Frank?" In 2021, the History Channel officially confirmed what fans had been suspecting for a long time. Frank had been fired. There were two versions of that story. The official version claimed Frank stepped away because of back surgery and that it was a mutually agreed-upon decision. A clean, friendly parting of ways. Frank's version was a whole different story. In an interview with The Sun, he laid it out plain. "I haven't talked to Mike in 2 years. He didn't reach out to me." Frank also opened up about his struggles with alcohol and Crohn's disease, things that had affected his ability to keep working. And here's the detail that hurt fans the most, when it finally clicked. Mike replaced his lifelong best friend with his own brother. Robbie Wolfe stepped right into Frank's spot on the show. Fans weren't having it. Social media blew up with comments like, "It's not the same anymore. Nobody can replace Frank." And that still isn't the worst of it. In July of 2022, Frank Fritz suffered a major stroke. He was found unresponsive in his own home. The hospital became his main address for months on end. His recovery was long, painful, and uphill the whole way. Mike's response was a brief statement on social media. No public hospital visit, no photos at his bedside, no presence beyond the surface level. While Frank lay unconscious in a hospital bed, the friend who had been right beside him in every barn, every back road, every camera shot for over a decade, Mike was on a set in Iowa shooting new episodes. Just put yourself in his shoes for a second. You're the friend who helped build this whole show from nothing. 20 years of friendship before any camera showed up. And then one day, you're not just kicked off the show. You're forgotten. The phone stops ringing. The man you trusted most won't answer. And there you are, lying in a hospital bed, asking yourself what you did wrong. In September of 2024, Frank Fritz passed away at the age of 60. Mike posted a tribute, warm, gracious, respectful. But for a whole lot of fans, the people who'd watched these two men for over a decade, that tribute came too late. 2 years too late, in fact. Comments flooded social media with the same question over and over. Where were you when he needed you, Mike? Frank's passing closed out a chapter full of regret, leaving a hole that nothing could fill in the hearts of fans. But in the merciless grind of the entertainment world, where the cameras have to keep rolling, the lives of those left behind keep moving forward, even when the shadow of Frank had become a part of the past, a show that lost its soul. By 2026, American Pickers is still on the air, but the ratings are just a fraction of what they were at the peak. The same audience that turned Mike Wolfe into a household name has been quietly walking away. The reason is pretty simple. It wasn't the antiques that made the show. It was the picker and his best friend. Once Frank was gone, the soul of American Pickers walked out the door with him. No new barn, no new van, no new family member could fill that empty passenger seat. There's an eerie symmetry to all of this. Jody waited 18 years for a marriage. American Pickers has now been on the air for 18 years too. Both started out full of promise. Both ended up far more complicated than anybody ever imagined. As for Mike, he's moved on to a new chapter. These days, he's dating Letitia Klein, a model and actress who shares his passion for motorcycles. The two of them showed up together in the 2025 film Day of Reckoning. When asked about the relationship, Klein said, "We're both very busy people, so it works out for both of us." A sentence that somehow says everything, and, somehow, says nothing at all. Antique archaeology is still open at both locations. Mike's net worth is estimated at around $7 million. Charlie, now 14 years old, makes the occasional appearance on her dad's social media. A rare bit of softness in a public image that's only grown more guarded with every passing year. The two versions of Mike Wolfe. There are two versions of Mike Wolfe. The TV version is generous, instinctive, genuinely in love with the things other people throw away. That version is probably true, at least to a point. But then there's the other version. The man who waited 18 years to propose. The man who went silent while his best friend was dying. The man who separated from his wife the same month he was publicly celebrating her victory over cancer. And to be fair, none of us will ever know the private conversations that happened behind closed doors. The places where everything fell apart, far from any camera lens. Maybe Mike tried in his own way and just couldn't save what he was losing. That version was never part of the picture. And that's the tragedy of fame. The public only sees the outcome. We rarely see the scars or the helplessness hiding just behind the lens. Remember that 4-year-old boy with the rusted bicycle? He saw value where nobody else did. He spent his entire life building a career around that one gift. And yet, the woman who waited 18 years, the friend who stood beside him for a lifetime, the daughter who only saw him 135 days a year, he overlooked every single one of them. The boy who could spot hidden value in anything missed the most valuable thing sitting right in front of him. Mike Wolfe spent his life pulling forgotten things out of barns. The real question, the one nobody's answered yet, is who's going to pull the truth out of him? Or maybe he already showed it to us. We just weren't looking close enough. Like Mike used to say on his show, you never know what's behind that next door. And as it turns out, we never knew what was behind his either. So, what do you think? Was Mike Wolfe a flawed hero, or a man who fooled all of us? Drop your honest take down in the comments. I'll be reading every single one. And if this story moved you, even a little bit, hit that like button and subscribe. Because there are a whole lot more stories like Mike's out there. Stories about people we thought we knew. And we're going to tell every single one of them.